Selectmen's meeting for the town of Effingham. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, let's dive into the signature folder. Make a motion to pass the October 5, 2021 Board of Selectmen's minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to pass the non-public minutes from October 5, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fuller, aye. And we forgot to seal those minutes. So I'll make a motion to seal those minutes for 6 months.
Second.
And all those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye. Aye.
The Morton Salt Agreement, we're gonna sign it, but I've asked Tom to pull those contracts until he's been able to verify the tonnages because of that 40% clause that you were able to highlight in that contract. So, make a motion to approve the manifest dated October 14, 2021 in the amount of $45,671.56. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, mail folder. There's going to be a prescribed burn in October on 55 acres of the Pine River State Forest in Ossipee. So we got notice on that this morning. And Lenny tells me that's pretty common occurrence out there, so it's nothing that's new. It's just a regular routine burn. We also were copied on a correspondence from the town of Wakefield for a public hearing for a 120-foot tower on Province Lake Road. Hopefully that'll help move additional cell coverage in the area. Health trust for our town insurance, employee insurance program, rates are changing. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit this morning. Street light at the corner of Levitt Road and Route 25. Somebody wanted us to basically take a look at that and see what that might present. Potentially installing a new street light at that intersection on 25 due to the nature of the way the road is in the darkness at night. So we'll talk about that a little bit too when the chief is in here in an hour. I want some feedback from him also on that. Any comments on that one, Lenny or Tom?
Yeah, I don't know, once, I don't think there's ever been one there, have there?
That doesn't sound like it, no.
We're in the process of removing the ones for the cost and what have you. Adding one, but like I say, get some input from the chief. I don't think it's needed, but.
When you had done your homework last year on streetlights, we determined that putting in a new street light, it was 100% expenses on us, 100% future maintenance expenses
Right.
on us, along with the electricity on us.
Yeah.
And it was $2,000, if I remember, $3,000-$4,000 just to get the install of that. So at this point, until we get some feedback from the chief, I don't want to do anything, but
I'd also direct them maybe to look into the state, ask the state, it's a state road too.
okay.
Maybe they'll put one up for them, I don't know though.
Many of the towns in the state are going to LED streetlights, and I've had a company asking me about if they could give us a quote, and I've held them off until we have the removals done and then we know what our inventory is.
The thing that freaked us out a year ago when we looked at that entire project, once we pulled down the old Eversource streetlights, we put up new, nice looking LED lighting. We are 100% on the hook for the maintenance of that. So if something goes out, it's a bucket truck for us to hire, several $100s to get them out here to do it, fix it and come back. And there wasn't an appetite a year ago to take on all that additional potential expense for the town. When our streetlight costs are just going up dramatically every year. So it's worth a discussion. I think we can do it. So as soon as we pull the other ones, I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's worth
worth a
taking a look at.
proposal,
See
where
what-
I'm seeing so many towns do it.
And a maintenance, is it maintenance with that too?
I don't know, I haven't,
Okay.
I just have
All
been
right.
holding her off right
Perfect.
now.
Okay, so once
Yeah.
we pulled everything, we get confirmation of it. then we'll just.
And my other thought is, if a gas station's going forward there, there's going to be a variance in the amount of light at the intersection because of signs often at gas stations.
Yep.
So that might change also. Or, you
possibility.
know, that company might have a parking lot light that,
would be
Yeah.
enough light.
yeah,
Yeah, because once lighting goes back into that location. you're
it's gonna
gonna-
be very different.
It's dark anymore. Okay, good.
Would you like me to respond to her?
Yeah, just let her know that we're gonna take a look at it and we're doing more research. And when we get to the LED lighting, if we can just look at what maintenance, I know that was a huge thing last year with the maintenance costs. Once we owned it, what that would
It's
transfer
been
to.
super helpful being part of the municipal managers association, because I see a lot of questions. They put questions out. This is what I'm seeing in other towns all the time.
Good.
While we're on that, I'm not a fan of that. It's never been a light there. Nothing has changed other than since 25 moved out, how many years ago? And if you talk about dark intersections, 153 south, right here.
Oh, the one we get all the accents there.
Yeah, it's a dark
It
intersection.
is. It is. Particularly at night.
We can't light up every intersection.
No,
And I don't mind getting some feedback from the chief later this morning, and we can come back to this and talk about it during that session. Okay, anything else on the streetlight item? Okay, under announcements, tax collector, town clerk's office is closed for the remainder of the week due to training. And we've now reached that important moment where we have town administrator comments.
Well, you saw in my report, almost everything is following up. It's continual and constant. Today's emergency was a second credit card has been denied, so I've written to the bank because our town clerk is at a conference in the hotel, denied her credit card. So I wrote to the bank and told them I would be in this meeting, but please check it out, what's going on.
Is there an 800 number you can physically call rather than just writing?
Well, we have two direct people who
Okay.
handle our account, and they're super responsive.
Good, okay.
Yeah, the woman in Ossipee and then the corporate account
Megan,
person.
okay.
Yeah, Megan.
we have no idea yet why it was denied.
No.
And when I saw the email earlier last week, having cards, I think we should have individual cards, individual people, so there's accountability and responsibility thing, so like the chief. should have
Right.
his own,
Right. And that's what we had. The town currently has three, one for general assistance, one for town clerk, and one for the town administrator. So I had asked the treasurer to take Brian's name off and put my name on, and then also get one in Joe's name.
Okay,
So
good.
I don't know what the status of that is. And CMA has one more invoice. I anticipate we'll see it in next week's manifest. He said it would be out this week. And then the woman from the state, I think her name's Katie, is gonna
Close out
start the
the
paperwork to
project.
close it.
So,
That's correct. In your folder, you have the draft of the 2020 audit. So,
can you email that to each of us and the budget chair, please?
yes. And he anticipates we'll have the final by the end of the month. And I tried the generic address for the oil grant, still no response from the state on that one. I did get a feedback from Midwest. They expect that tank should be in the second week of November. And
Is it gonna be shipped or be here the second week?
shipped,
Shipped.
right. And I gave you the draft of the road maintenance proposal. I had 391A requests come in this morning that I'm gonna have to respond to. And I guess, are there any questions on anything else? I don't go through them all.
Okay, there's a couple I want to touch on
Okay.
in more
Right.
detail.
I did want to just quickly say on the First Amendment thing from the town clerk, Indiana. She had attended a presentation and most of it self-explanatory, but there's groups that are coming into town halls and they'll be very invasive and pushy. And the the key thing I got out of that is like on her door and our door, putting authorized personnel only. And if that's up there, they can't go past it.
Good.
So I'll put it on the property inventory and on Deanna's closet,
Okay,
and then I'll check out back if they need any.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, that was key. Thank you.
Kitchen, put it on the kitchen too. Nobody should be in there either,
Yeah,
because there's records and other things.
well, that's what I meant, that kitchen door, yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
Mr. Hart,
Yeah. These are things I listed, I mean, road sign list. This is what we need. Now, I don't know if you guys want to add on, there's quite a few here. Don't have the money for them all.
do we have any idea what the rough price tag is?
Not yet. I finished this up last night. And there's still no bridge closed. And I need 2 large loads, I believe. But right now we have one that has other writing on it, doesn't just say bridge closed. We've lost quite a few signs. I have about 10 of them altogether over the course of the work this year. Stolen.
Our typical. All right.
So you guys want to look that over, any additions, if you're
Yeah, no,
driving around and I
wanna-
missed something?
I want to take a look at this and then, when I'm back, we can
See something that we don't need on there?
look at it, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's take a look. I want to do some driving and.
The only paper I didn't bring, I left in the, at home was the inventory for the shed, what we have,
Okay,
and it's not a whole lot on.
on here, okay, that's good. All right, question?
Do we have to post every road as 30 ton?
That's how I was gonna call DOT and find out. We
I
have to
mean,
go ahead and call.
I think they passed a law, I don't know. how many-
Standardized like.
Yeah,
this.
all town roads, all roads in Effingham are 30 ton.
Good question.
I don't know if that was done at town meeting or how it was done.
State should have it on record though, right? No, this is a town road.
And what?
Probably just town. I don't think the state would have it.
So look at our records.
I don't know when it was done.
Um,
I was just wondering if it'd be a requirement to post every road if it's the whole town wide is 30 ton.
Just post the ones that are like 6 ton or
Yeah, with, bridge limits and stuff.
whatever. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, good.
Anything else on
No.
there? Roadside mowing contractor called yesterday. Yeah. Not good. Well, he's got his tractor in, now it's not even running. They've agreed to buy it back, buy the tractor back for him. He's looking into renting it, tractor now. Whether that happens or not, no idea. So we got another avenue, we need to take it or just wait for him.
We didn't have too many people lining up.
I didn't find anybody else, so if you guys know someone else, all ears on this.
I know nobody off the top of my head.
Neither do I. I've asked around. Doing additional research. Well, let's-
He's supposed to keep me updated like every other day. If he rents his tractor, he said he'll come right out. It's the only reason why he's renting is just to get this town done.
move this.
Because it's like going forward.
He's got that front line. Let's keep with him, I think.
All right. That's it, Chuck.
All right, Lenny.
Not much, just the same, trying to get a hold of Kevin Kennedy, but
Lost Valley.
yeah, Lost Valley.
Cody.
Gotta get that Kevin Cody, yeah, I was thinking of the.
You had to see, right?
Yeah, well, had another thing going on with Kenny, but brothers, but yeah, trying to get that building done for trying to find out when the door's gonna come in, so he hasn't got back to me yet, so.
Trying to let him know that we're gonna have stuff arriving that needs to go
Right.
in there. that
Yeah,
needs
well, I tried that.
Okay. All right.
And everything's going pretty good. They got the culverts and, shed down there, so. The mess is
And the
cleaned up.
salt, and the salt was removed.
And the salt's been removed, yeah, so. Just waiting on shouldering of the road.
Which
People have been asking what are they gonna do.
I asked him on Friday. I said, I need to know when, and he said within a few weeks. So,
It's all right for now.
okay. Well, while we're on town roads, the Champion Hill sinkhole by Chris Garcia's driveway has been repaired. The drain was rebuilt and pavement and fill and everything else is in there. I followed up after last week, sent an email over to Bill Lambert at the New Hampshire Department of Transportation Bureau of Traffic regarding request to add Effingham into their Route 153 road speed studies for next year's budget. And I'm hoping I'll hear back from him on that one. The CPA report, besides sending it to us, can get it on the website soon, because there's a lot of people that look for that.
You want the draft one up?
Is that the draft one? that's there?
It's draft,
Oh,
it
no,
says draft
no,
all over it.
okay, no, just send it internally then, but as soon as the final one comes in, let's make sure it's up on the site.
What item do we say?
The audit,
The audit report,
Oh, okay.
so where it's in draft form, the budget committee and the selectmen will look at it.
Yeah.
And as soon as the final copy comes in, please ask Teresa to post it, because there's a lot of people that are waiting on that one right now. So, there was also in here this morning an authorization to add David Strauss as the deputy treasurer. So we signed that, it's in the folder. The 2022 road maintenance agreement, as we know, is coming up. And Audrey was basically put together the draft of the job description of what it is. It's not really a contract, it's a job description. Did we get the advertisement out?
no, I didn't get any feedback for approval, so
Sent out today.
that was okay,
Yeah.
all right, the dates are okay, I think I requested it back. The 12th?
Yeah,
Date? No, that's okay, all right, I'll get that up
See if we can
today.
get it fired up, and then 30 days from now, we'll deal with that.
Do you want me to send it to any specific vendors as well?
Yeah, I know Ron would like a copy of it, and I know there's a couple of other people. There was a guy that bid on the winter contract out of Wolfboro last year, and we'll get his address out of the winter contract, maybe send something to him. And I don't know if there was anybody else in that folder that had applied. I don't think so. It was only Ron and the guy from Wolfboro. And I know there's somebody up in the Tamworth area that also might be interested, but those are the only ones I can think of. I don't know if the DOT has an area on their website for postings like this, but we'll just check it, see if we can.
Okay, so I'll put it in the Conway paper and run on our website, New Hampshire Municipal.
Yeah, let me actually, municipal, yep. Any places out you can think of on that?
No. I don't know if Brooks would be interested. Digging those.
Digging News used to do it, so we should have their contact information. Brooks, I think we had their contact information from the bridge quote for Snow Road Bridge. So. Okay, yes, we'll
I'll
reach
get
out,
that done today.
try and reach out to as many as we can. The other question I had when I was doing some homework this last week, that contract has been a revolving 2-year contract. And we just did the winter contract for a longer period than that, and I'm thinking we ought to consider moving this one from a 2-year at least to a 3-year or a 4-year. I didn't know your thoughts on it. If somebody's buying equipment to help manage that contract, having something that's a little longer benefits their cash flow.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go 4 years on it, Bill. Okay.
I think that would put you per hourly rate up or right at the outset,
Mhm.
by going with a longer contract.
You
You know what
think,
I'm saying?
you think we put it up?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
All right, we'll keep it to the, keep it to the,
Yeah.
all right. So once we now have the description of work, we get free contract reviews with Primex from a legal standpoint, so can you fire that off, Audrey, and send it to them and tell them this is
That-
our contract?
Yeah, well, that's a request for proposal. The contract will have stronger terms and conditions about response times and everything, and liability. But
Can you find out?
I can take our old contract and
Send it down to them.
know that that'll be the language.
Okay, yeah, I just send it down to them because the old contracts were not really contracts. They were descriptions of work with a couple of legal.
Yeah,
terms
this one
in it.
wasn't too bad.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, good, all righty. Did you hear back from Michelle on the overlay?
Yes, and she can add that, so I need to have the front of the 434 signed. I could sign it, or Dave Strauss can sign it, and upload that. So once you approve it, I'll upload it, and she'll enter that, turn it around, then it turns into the 434R, which the three of you will sign.
Okay, good.
But yeah, she was fine with that.
Okay, good. All right, health trust rates for 2022. So we have a full document in there this morning explaining the rates for the medical, the dental, the type of package, the rates for group life, short-term disability, long-term disability, and the entire packet. The smaller coverages for life and disability, looks like the rates are staying basically the same. Medical rates are actually going down. So in looking at it pretty quickly, I think there's more than enough coverage in next year's budget for making sure we properly account for the short-term, long-term, and group life. And we'll still be under where we are
I
this
think
year.
that'll offset it.
More than offset it. Because, you know, the monthly amounts are very small, they're like $6, $12, $16 kind of thing. And the reductions in some of the coverages, the medical is like $67 a month. So it's, we'll save some money there. And I signed the document this morning, that the printout with the requirement for the signups to send it back before the 29th of the month. So Darlene's aware of it. I gave, talked about it this morning. Okay. ISO dry fire hydrant situation. I forwarded an email to you folks. Read kind of.
Randy should have that list all out ready to go. I thought.
I'm hoping.
I think he showed it to me down there when
Okay.
I first started on this.
It's not
Sat
just a
down
list. We need to document each of the sites
Where they are.
with the GPS locations, where they are, pictures of what it looks like.
Isn't that part of ISO survey though?
Apparently, they will look at that and make recommendations. The reason Brian was giving us the information is he already knows those are approved for a couple of other towns as a format. So the backup pipes, so that the machine can't knock the dry hydrant over, was one of the things that he recommended we needed to consider doing. So we just need to get an idea of what we need to do to kind of comply with it. And if Randy's got a better idea than what Brian came back with, I'm good with that too. I'm thinking our daytime coverage folks could be out there doing this survey information and pictures and things like that. So, thoughts?
We ought to make sure they're all operable too.
Yeah.
Randy mentioned a year ago that they do test those, but we don't know how often they're tested.
The one on Snow Road is junk. We should probably just take that right out so the guy could go over it instead of around it.
I don't know, they give us coverage in the center part of Effingham with that, if it was working. So,
Yeah, I mean, but you get the river right there. They'll probably park on the bridge and throw a hose over under that. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of hard to do, it's frozen over though, that's why I got a dry hydrant. So, I'm not disagreeing, I just think we, you know, we just need to think it.
Then replace the one that's there that's no good.
That's where I'm going, if it's a case where we push it closer to the water or something like that. I don't know if comes out of his pond, that would come out of his pond. or is it
Yeah,
out of-
it's out of the pond.
Alright. Maybe we talk again and find out if that's still something that would be feasible or not.
I believe the pipe is gone between the pond and the pipe.
Okay.
Well, the
Let's test
daytime
it.
coverage, if they'll do it,
If they-
can't they be testing those at the same time? They're gonna end up driving
Correct.
the trucks out, right?
And documenting the condition.
I think that may have been the one they were trying to use to check it when they found out the pump wasn't gonna work in the truck, and they found the rags.
Oh, yeah.
in the pump.
Yep.
That's when it failed on that.
But yeah, I mean, it's literally doing a survey on each of the sites and the condition of the sites,
Mhm.
and then taking a look at it. If we document it, we can send it in. Brian's willing to review the documentation, because he knows what they need to do.
Mhm.
And because he's a citizen of the town, he said, yeah, I'll do it if you send it to him. So he'll review it
Good.
and then send it in. We don't need to get ISO out here to do anything.
Sounds good.
I know they don't all have bumper posts around.
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
for that.
But if we document the fact that 2 out of 5 of them need posts or something like that, we'll just figure out how to put that in the budget for next year. Because we've got dry ag money in the fire department budget,
Mhm.
so. Could you ask Andy?
So,
See if he can get his guys to dive into that one. Good. Municipal Resources, Inc., in the fire chief wording for the advertisement. I again forwarded that email out to everybody. Questions, comments? On that?
um, the advertising in the other papers, I mean, the only one I recognize is the Conway Sun. Didn't know that Wakefield, what was the Wakefield one? Wakefield Weekly or something?
Daily item,
Yeah.
daily
Never
item,
heard of that.
Laker, possibly Valley. Region.
Yeah,
My guess is because he's got them on here, they've actually used them for the
Yeah.
departments in the area.
I just never heard of them before. Must be Valley Weekly. No, I never heard of them.
We can look
At
at it.
least the Conway Sun anyway.
All right, do you want to do just the sun and then the other capabilities?
Yeah, the top capabilities. I mean, there's no
The
charge.
MRI site, we could do, we could ask Randy to let the local chiefs.
Yeah.
Print them up and let him hand out the local chiefs. Then the fire association, MRI can handle that one. I think we have, so other than Conway Sun, I think we have to try and do it.
Yeah, do all the tacos.
Yeah, that we can, because they're all cost items, and then the Conway Sun.
We didn't list NHMA, did we?
No, we didn't.
No.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah,
and we'll just let him know that. And then to support kind of his discussions on that, I put together an Excel sheet that I also had sent out to you. So from a budgetary standpoint, he's thinking that it would be a 24-hour work week that they would start from a discussion standpoint at a hourly wage between 20 and 25 an hour, 25 being the moderate range, $20 being the low end range. And the net effect to the budget for 2022 at $25 an hour range, it's assuming that basically 2 of the shifts and the daily shifts are covered by this person plus 4 hours of training. The net difference in the budget, it would go up $9,400, a little bit more than that next year. And if we use a $20 an hour rate, it would be like $3,200 in that range. So it gives us a range to take a look at to potentially would affect the budget depending on where the hiring process goes.
As a budget committee, has Dave seen this or?
I think I copied him on it when I sent it to you guys with the email, but if it didn't, I'll make sure.
I do have a question on the chat.
Did you, I send it to you? Okay, yep, go ahead.
The 2 days a week part-time now in place.
Yep.
Was that in anticipation of that chief taking 2 slots. of
Correct.
What we're currently funding for.
Correct.
So that's gonna affect what the warrant will ask for part-time for the full year.
Correct.
That's what I'm seeing.
No, no,
So
it
we
will-
should-
it
we
will-
should offset that.
Yep.
If we go with that top one.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's correct,
Okay,
Yep.
so that, I wanted to make sure that,
because that funding is already in the budget, and we just have to change it over to the salary line from the part-time.
yeah, it wasn't clear to me at first, and then after I looked at it, so I wanted to make sure I brought that point to the other 2 selectmen.
Yep.
It took me a little bit to understand how you were offsetting that. So you expect the chief to take up 2 shifts,
Correct,
all right? And the bottom one, you don't expect him to take up 2 shifts.
no, it'll be the same thing, it's 24 hours a week, under the hour column, still 24 hours.
Okay, yeah, it's minus 2 days. Okay, yeah, I see that. Right, second one from the bottom?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, and,
So, go ahead.
and the other selectmen understand that, I mean, I know you and I have had discussions on this. Understand that this is putting an addition onto the budget for a stipend for the chief that we've never done before, right? I just want to make sure that that's pointed out before you approve anything, just so they have that information. So this is obviously an increase to the 190,000 of this year's budget that you currently are looking at.
And what we also did is Randy basically gave a number to Audrey that so far, year to date September, he's used 5,700, and he called it current stipend. So that,
Yeah, and
that's
that-
where the
that's
50
actually compensation for fires, that's out of their package for
Right.
and training of fire.
Yep.
So that doesn't mean that you wouldn't hire another person, temporary, part-time firefighter to take up that
take up
5,700.
that
So that
position, that's
5,700, I look at is not reality, or could be taken up by another firefighter. So I wanted to bring that point up if I may. That it's possible, but it's highly likely that it could be another firefighter that he picks up that other 57 in compensation. Because Randy is not planning on, from my discussions with him, of dropping down the firefighter compensation. Only what we agreed to because of the part-time people, not additionally. So I don't know if you'll actually realize that 57, so I just, you're probably looking, even though you talk 10,000 roughly there. I mean, overall, you're looking like another 20 to 25,000 stipend for the fire chief is what it basically boils down to. You know, I mean,
If
you're
they reduce-
offsetting it if he can do the 2 days, if he agrees to do the 2 days. If he agrees to do the 2 days, then you're cutting that basically in half. Pretty much.
Right.
Is that what I'm saying, Chuck?
Yeah, no, and the way you're describing the stipend, and in fact, somebody else could get hired, that to me means that we basically take that line item out of that 5,700 that's in there, take it out of this type of calculation,
I would probably do that.
and assume it's gonna be filled by more people that are volunteer firefighters.
Yeah, especially the way he's gonna be picking up 2 shifts, or you expect him to pick up 2 shifts. Is that a condition in the contract with him? Or would that be,
It would be an employee contract for 24 hours a week at a rate of pay.
okay, with expectation of the 2 days a week?
Correct. That's part of the requirements.
So you know that's gonna be definite for the 16 pretty much
Correct.
in the top one.
So I'll redo this Excel sheet, taking the 5,700 out. So it presents a little better picture.
We do have a job description for our fire chief, correct?
We do, and I don't think I copied you on the advertisement. There's a pretty good ad that's identifying what the responsibilities will be. You did? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's not a job description.
No, and there was a job description for all the positions in the fire department.
Okay, so
So I got them from Randy and I had to forward them over to Brian before we started.
I just wanted that point for the camera that we do have a job.
We do have a job description as required by labor law. Okay. Other questions? For the time being, we're gonna have this discussion. when we're in the menus.
Yeah, I just, once you get, nobody wants to work 24 hours. I mean, it's not even full time,
This is,
you know,
he's
so
looking at a
I think-
retired chief. somebody that wants to do it as a supplemental to an existing position.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you had somebody in their forties, they couldn't. You'd want some young blood in there, I think. But I think it kind of tying a person's hands, because, a guy with wife and family, I mean, he couldn't come to work for the town that 24 hours, so. I don't know.
I'm thinking of biting it in small chunks, and
Yeah.
I can't do it, because as soon as we hit 35 hours, they automatically become eligible for.
But I'm just saying, I don't know as you could, why would you require somebody to work 24 hours? I mean, Randy, I don't think works 24.
His description below, but
you know.
20 hours of it is like what Randy does today. Randy works the day shift.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's 4 hours different than this would be actually training related stuff.
Right, and then the meetings and Saturday meetings and
Right.
stuff.
So I'm not disagreeing, we probably need to do better,
Yeah.
but I don't think we can afford the full chunk at this point. And Brian is really confident that at this particular type of description, we can fill the position. There apparently are a number of retired chiefs that live in the area that may apply for it. Based on this knowledge. Well, there'll be more when we get to Randy's budget, we'll be doing that, so I just want to make sure that everybody's got some basic information. All right. Eversource streetlights, yes, we got that. The external painting work at the Town Hall Library should be done this week. They're painting the cupola and the backside of the bell tower this week with a bigger lift than what they had in the past. And how do we want to follow up on that right field department issue that Andy brought up? You want to talk to him and find out why he can't handle it from a safety standpoint?
Yeah.
And he thinks it should go elsewhere?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about that. So just mention that.
okay, good. All right, and that's all I had from that standpoint. The old business Audrey that you have on here with the New Hampshire Retirement System Group 1, we'll do that when we get to the executive line, when we're doing the budget discussion.
Okay.
And the chief's gonna be in here for his, Chief Duchesne will be in here at 10 for his presentation on the budget. So rather than diving right into the budget stuff, why don't we do the public comment item? We'll skip that. So let's open it up to public comment first. Let's check. Is there anybody online? No, good. All right. Yes, ma'am.
And Becky, Leather Road. Regarding that broadband thing that I volunteered to be part of. Has there been any more search or anything for getting a second person to go with
I
me?
did. I reached out to a person that Lenny had given me a name and I have yet to get any kind of response. So I'm assuming that's a no.
Okay, so
Um,
lacking that kind of response, is there anything about, maybe any consideration about putting it out on like some of the social media groups, like the Effingham Connect and Beautiful Effingham and stuff, and searching
We,
to see?
would you, here's why I'm gonna ask this question. We do not consider Facebook to be a town monitored available
understand
website,
that.
so we're not posting anything. But if a citizen, knowing what you know, was willing to put something out on those two sites, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Okay, can somebody, like, either can you email me a description of, like, give me some information, because I don't know enough to put that out there, other than say, I volunteered for this thing and I'd like company. Which is gonna give me a lot of response, but if I can put something with some information out there, I might get someone to be willing to go with me.
Perfect. Did I copy you on Rick's overview on that? Did he copy you on that, came in, or?
I have a multi-page document I can probably draw something out of.
Okay, all right. From that standpoint. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate that additional assistance.
I don't want to be driving all alone.
No, no, no,
especially with winter coming,
no,
you know.
no.
So, be nice to have somebody else.
Yes.
And they wanted two from the town anyway,
do.
so
Each
and I
town
definitely
too.
appreciate that.
So, okay.
Yeah,
good.
willing to see what I can do to find someone to go with me.
Okay, good. Anybody else in public comment land? Yes, sir.
Thank you. If I could just mention material to drop off the selectmen.
Okay,
Just approaching. Mark McConkey. I represent MENA Corporation, and I'm not going to take you through anything long, just a simple letter. My other hat is I'm a state representative, Public Works and Highways. We oversee the budget for the highways. The issue on Route 25 and Levitt Road, if it's a safety issue, the state could have some involvement. Your intersection talked about 153 and 25, where we had that series of deaths. I was involved with DOT, got safety money at that intersection without lights cleaned up and still has accidents, but we haven't had those issues. So if it's possibly a safety issue, just let me know, and I'm happy to bring DOT in. You had also mentioned 153 speed and traffic counts. You folks are, I believe, a member of Lakes Region Planning Commission. A simple letter to them will put them on the list at no cost to you. That's part of your membership fee.
it actually, I did have a talk with Dave Jeffers, and the actual studies would be 90 to 120 bucks a piece on town roads. From a state standpoint, the state, when I talked to Bill Lambert, basically said, he'll put it into his budget next year.
Great.
And if approved, he'll just do it.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
we've written him to ask him to add it. We just will have to wait and find out if it's passed.
I found you gentlemen thorough, so I appreciate that. So I'm just offering my hand.
No, good, thank you.
The letter I have here is Effingham Selectmen. I represent MENA LLC for the purpose of presenting their site plan to the planning board, and I'm asking for your consideration in a small matter of importance. One of the items required is to provide a driveway permit for this property. When we approached DOT to get a copy of the permit, Route 25, with it being 31 years old, they struggled to find the document, but ultimately confirmed that there was a driveway in place and issued a document. When I approached the town for a copy of the driveway permit, again, 31 years old, they also could not find the document. When I approached the agent of the town, wonderful, I can't say enough. He suggested we fill out a driveway application, pay a modest fee, and we review the application in a timely manner. When I reviewed the document, it's apparent that the document is requesting permission for the construction, alteration, repair, or relocation of driveway entrance or access way, therefore referred to as a driveway. The property has been in business since the 90s and enclosed. One of the documents is a survey of Thaddeus Thorne dated 9/6/91, attests the location of the driveway off Levitt Road. And my enclosed sketch from our current submission demonstrates it's in the same location. When we review your driveway application, section 1, driveway regulations, town of Effingham is adopted by the planning board at a meeting of October 7, 2004. This was from 1990. States that no driveways accessing private property, town of Effingham should be constructed without compliance with these regulations. Section 3 defines the purpose means any construction of a new driveway, but also includes, I'm paraphrasing some of this, alterations of an existing driveway. In our case, the driveway predated the regulation, is in place, and MENA LLC is not asking to alter or make improvements to the driveway. If you drive, you'll see it's in good condition. Section 9, enforcement. The enforcement of these regulations is vested in the selectmen. On behalf of MENA LLC, I ask you to consider my correspondence and issue a letter to the planning board confirming that the driveway access off Levitt Road has existed prior to the adoption of the town of Effingham's driveway regulation and should be permitted to remain in place. We're in the process of dotting i's and crossing t's. And we can't come up with this document. And honestly, the person we spoke to at the town was very helpful. The review process could take 30 days. It's geared for a new driveway. It's not geared for what is there. So you as selectmen are ultimately in charge of all regulations. It puts that in there. We're just asking that you consider that over the next time that you folks meet and possibly issue a letter as we've requested.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Mark, so the existing opening isn't changing whatsoever. It's just a required documentation as part of your other process with the planning board. Okay,
When we looked at the application, we said we needed a driveway permit. I instinctively thought Route 16. And as we've been through discussions with them, there's some question, what about the road access? And the town can't come up with a document. And we don't know if there ever was from 1990. So, but if we're asked to comply with the new process, it's going to be very difficult to comply with the new process for which something's already in place. So if you would look at that, I think it would be a benefit to a business owner trying to come to town. And I don't think it undermines your regulation in any way. There's always an acceptance for something, grandfathering or predating or something.
thoughts?
I agree. Go ahead, man.
I mean, that driveway's been there since Bobby Battles built the store, pre-zoning. And that's one of the reasons that store is there, is because he wanted to build the store in Freedom, but they had too strict regulations and making him jump through hoops. So he'd come to Effingham and they welcomed him with open arms. That's why that store is there. And all of it was pre-zoning because we didn't have it. And everybody sitting in this room knows that driveway's been there. And you're not changing it. So I think you have a valid point.
Yeah, I agree with Lenny too on that. Also, I just had a question though. There was another driveway put in during COVID. Has that been removed, taken out?
It's being taken out. It's in our presentation that other driveway that's beyond that one will be
Right.
removed, loamed and seeded.
Okay.
They're trying to do the right thing.
I have no problem with the letter.
No.
No problem signing it. Audrey, could you grab something? Mark, how soon do you
I have
need
one
this?
copy.
If we could have it in the next 7 days, that would be fabulous. If that's too difficult, then we need it ahead of the hearing.
Is this something you could read like before the end of the week? Would you be able to come in and sign
Can
it?
you give us a copy of the letter?
One of these guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I knew you would, thank you. Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to write a letter supporting the existing driveway, which is part of location, which is part of pre-zoning in the town of Effingham.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good.
Thank you for your
We'll
time.
we'll get it to you. Audrey will have it by the end of the week, Mark.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Okay, anything else from the public? Dave, anything else? Yeah, on road three, yes.
It's a quick question. You know that I'm starting to get acquainted with some of this budgeting stuff. And I heard again, I didn't realize the fire chief gets a stipend. And I know that recently something else was voted on for a stipend. How many people get stipends?
The firefighters get a call stipend, so whenever they're responding to, and that's actually part of our existing budget,
Right.
has been for years. So part of what Randy has been getting for income as the fire chief
Okay.
has been this particular
So
payment.
it's just really the terminology of it is really, it's replacing, if you want to call payments, paycheck or hourly
Yep.
or whatever.
And did you understand the point David was making earlier with the initial flow I
Yes,
had?
I was
Okay.
trying to follow that, which I'll follow up with him again. Just to
And
make sure.
we call it a member compensation in the budget sheet. We don't call it a stipend because they get paid for training or call-ups.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah,
just a
it's
compensation.
the word, right, because when I've never heard that before, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what is with all of the stipends all of a sudden, because now it's been mentioned twice. So it really threw me for a loop, because I'm like, okay, how many people are getting stipends? So that would be the only two, the one that's coming up for vote, right, at town meeting,
For which?
for the health officer.
Yep, that'll come up.
This one is already.
No, actually, the health
established,
officer will be part of the regular budget. We already have a health officer position.
But it'll be
Right,
paid to the state.
But as a stipend,
It'll be paid as a stipend, that's
Yeah.
correct.
right, that's the part.
Not an hourly wage.
No,
Because
no,
quite
no, but
frankly,
that's
if
the
we
part
do the
that will come
hourly
up
wage, we
in-
couldn't afford it with the amount of activity that's going on.
But there are
Right.
several, there's the trustees, there's the moderator, there's checklist, there's. Who else do we pay like quarterly? The treasurer,
Treasurer.
We do elections.
the
we pay-
selectmen.
Well, no.
Yeah, so those are all stipends.
And-
I would have to go, we have a list if you want to
Yeah.
call Darlene or myself.
And
I
the,
was just curious.
and the goal is to stay away from an hourly wage, which can be variable. So it becomes a fixed cost,
Right,
and whatever it takes to do that position is part of whatever that fixed cost is. So it's a way for the town to manage budgets.
Okay.
To a degree.
just,
Good questions, because I'm sure other people have
I
them.
am sure that
and-
they do.
At least now we've got it on tape too, so that's important. So thank you for bringing that
And
up.
Deanna has some too, right, for her, her
People that help.
people
with
that
the
help
election.
at the polls and things.
Right. Okay,
All right, good question.
thank you.
Anything else from the public? Yes, Vicky.
I have a couple of questions, actually. The list of the signage that you gave to everybody, did you personally do both of those lists?
Tom personally drove every single road in town for that list.
Okay.
But
all right.
but part of the
had
problem,
input.
Vicky, we got people in town that are stealing the signs. So even though he went out and did that a few months ago, I am pretty sure there's probably a sign or two that's now missing, because as soon as we put them up, they get stolen.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Okay. The other question I have is, does everyone that works or volunteers or that has access to private town information have a criminal background check done?
yeah,
Everybody,
Everybody.
whether you volunteer or.
pure
I can't
volunteers,
speak- I can't speak to the volunteers.
volunteers we've never done. And
Okay,
I
so
would have
even
to,
if they have access to private town information,
Private.
they don't have to have a criminal background? And if not, why?
what kind of information are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about a case that's going on.
That there's a position that was appointed and approved by the state for that
Right.
position. That
Okay.
person does have access to any of the information. He probably has access to stuff from the state that we don't,
Okay,
because of the position.
but was it an appointed position?
Yes, it was,
By who?
the Board of Selectmen.
Right, so if you appoint someone to work for the town doing town information, should that person not have a criminal background? And I'm talking about anybody.
No, no,
that
I'm
does,
going,
you know.
and I'm trying to think broadly. So what you're describing means every time we elect a Board of Selectmen, each one of the selectmen would have to have a background check.
I would think if they had private town information or
I will-
access to,
I will contact the legal folks at New Hampshire Municipal
okay,
and kind of explain what you're describing.
okay.
And I'll use volunteers as well as appointed positions. and try
I mean, do selectmen have to have a criminal background?
Not that I'm aware of,
No,
not that I'm aware of.
They're elected by the town.
Yeah, you're
They're
elected,
elected,
okay.
so that's a little different.
so
Okay, so if you appoint somebody,
that's the question I need
Right.
to get an
Okay.
answer to.
And I guess a lot of this stuff isn't really private. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about private. There's really nothing that goes on in town except for like employee information. That's
I
really
think she's
private.
referencing a legal case.
I
Yeah.
agree with that too, but even
Yeah.
that,
especially
Is
if
it
it's a
private?
legal case.
Let me ask, I'll ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
If
Go ahead.
they did criminal background checks on us, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, maybe that's.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Lenny.
All right.
You heard that, right?
I joke.
Oh, he's friendly all of a sudden.
All right. Anything else from a public comment standpoint? We have some good questions this morning.
Yeah.
Good information. All right, we will then end public comment. Do we have a need for a non-public at all?
Not
No, we're not.
No, I-
Good. All right, let's dive into the department and committee updates. Chief, you are on.
Okay.
So the
You guys
report,
have a copy of the.
actually, we had one that we shared. You did? Okay, good. I just didn't see it as
I'll
part
give you
of,
another one, Chuck.
it was the thick pack that I was
I
missing.
got plenty. You need one?
Activity's up a little bit from last month.
Yes, it's getting there. So these are the stats for September. The numbers are up a little, largely in part to having Tyler Elders working more hours. Our calls for service were up to 318 this past month. That includes state police calls. I think there were about 25 state police calls. Effingham PD had 2 arrests, 51 motor vehicle stops, which is a drastic difference from the 8 last month. So we're up 3 motor vehicle accidents. So those were the stats for September. If you have any questions about those, you can see it is getting there. The coverage is a lot better than it was. And the motor vehicle enforcement is getting to where it needs to be now.
So the motor vehicle stuff means that we've got Officer Tyler out on the road doing
Yeah,
regular patrols all around town.
all around, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, that number's gonna be even higher next month. Last night he made a felony methamphetamine arrest out here out of a motor vehicle stop. And I think the kid had 7 other charges on him. So, it's out there. It needs to be addressed. It's just getting the bodies out there to address it. And that's happening. So that's a good thing. There are extra copies up here if anybody wants them. Quick update on the K9. The school that Sergeant Welch has been attending now is going excellent. It's exceeding expectations. We expect him, well, he's attempting his drug and tracking certification in 2 weeks. So should that succeed, that's quicker than we all thought, and those are the 2 major certifications to obtain. So that's going very well.
Super.
Other
And
than,
I will give the department a compliment. I drove by an accident yesterday where one of our people was there along with a couple of other departments, and our department looked way more professional than
Great.
any of the other ones.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Good, thank you. Thank you. Any questions from anybody?
I think the school appreciated the,
Oh, the walk?
being here on the
Yeah.
walk to school.
And there's another event on the 29th, I believe we'll be a part of.
Okay, yeah, there's a Halloween parade where the
Halloween.
children will come and
Yeah.
turn around here and go back.
Yeah, so we'll be a part of that as well.
I want to say that as far as Green Mountain Road,
Mhm.
during the day, I've noticed a lot of people slowing down.
Have you? Well, that's
going
good.
by,
I'll take it.
But you still have the hellions out there
course.
that
And-
know when you're not
Of
around.
course, and that is
And I
something you're
mean,
gonna
they're
battle.
bad.
Yeah, you're gonna battle that. That will never go away. We'll catch them when we can. It's a game. It's a cat and mouse game.
Oh, yeah.
They know. I've talked to kids before who will be out with their buddies and be like, yeah, go up the road and let me know if there's any cruisers around, and they'll do their thing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we'll get them. Eventually they'll up run out.
Like 11 o'clock at night, the boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, and
Yeah.
the squealing, you
Oh,
hear
yeah.
it down the road. And,
Yep.
yeah.
You can see the squealing because they leave the tire
They
marks.
do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Elm Street's a good one. Elm Street and Green Mountain Road,
Oh,
they call it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that nice paved
I know.
part of Green Mountain
I know.
is starting already.
Yep. I know.
So.
We'll address it.
Joe,
Yeah.
you moved the cops in the box, you're using those, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Yep.
moving them around
Yep.
town.
Yep, those seem to be pretty effective. As long as we keep moving them around, surprise people.
We have two.
We have 2. Yeah, we leave them in one spot too long, and like I said, they kind of just become background noise at that point, but switch it up.
Diane?
Speaking of traffic and speeding and things like that, I didn't think about this during public comment, sorry. we have a driveway that comes right out at the corner of Granite and Nutter, that people come around very fast. And it can be really hard to see that. Is there any way to get like a blind driveway sign?
Or
I
a
thought
mirror,
about
can
that
you
the
get one
other
of those
day, because
mirrors?
it is a blind, like, because people come flying around.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's not, it's a
we've
guessing
had a
game
couple
when to
close
pull out.
calls when
Yeah.
we're trying to, yeah, oh yeah, you're pulling out of there and praying nobody comes right across. Kevin Downs, when you had the grader out the last time on those roads, I had been behind a bucket truck coming up and I turned into my driveway. That made the turn, so he had pulled off onto the other part of Granite, you know, where it continues towards the bridge to get out of the way of that bucket truck. And when he was coming back out in, I was getting out of my car and I heard him yell at somebody to slow the F down. So somebody came careening, almost hit him.
Yeah.
In there, so it's that's an area that can be very dangerous, but for us coming out of our driveway, it's.
We'll have Tom Long take a look at it and see what we can do. But the other thing is the chief just said too, the mirrors, I don't know if you've seen the one at the library, we reinstalled it finally, to catch people that are flying up over Townhouse Road from 153. You now coming out of the library parking lot can actually see a good portion of the way down the hill and in both directions because of the mirror.
Yeah, like we'd have to put that, I would think that if we were gonna put up a mirror, that it would have to be on the other side of the road, on somebody, on the property of the people that own that camp over there, and if we don't know them, we've never met them.
If it's an option, we can figure out how to make a contact to find out if they have a problem with it.
Okay, so, yeah, I'd appreciate that, somebody wants to, yeah, Tom, you wanna do that and
Sure will.
stop in and I'll go out there and look at it with you too.
Sure.
'Cause it can be an issue, it's certainly scary, making the left out of there. Yeah. Can't wait until the bridge is done, and that's not as big a problem anymore, because everything goes the other way.
You can just give me a contact phone number, I applied for him over there.
Sure.
I can get it for you after.
Yeah, but I will, I'm just kidding, yeah, you said I don't forget to give it.
All right, chief,
Yes, sir.
I see you're on the discussion here this morning for budget
I
discussion,
am.
and I don't see a budget sheet in here. Did I miss something?
Oh, I got copies.
Oh, preparation is king.
Good to see somebody. prepared.
Well, I don't know that I'd go that far. Maybe more than others, but not.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Do you have an extra for Darlene or should I make one? Okay, thanks.
Just enough.
So we're gonna have a sergeant next year?
What's that? So those two lines are, I wanted to go over with you guys again, because
Okay.
with the whole 3% thing was, I wanted to sit down with you guys before we worked that out. That was the only thing. But that depends if he keeps up the good work, maybe. The secretary and the sergeant were the two
Okay.
that I wanted to nail down the salaries with you.
From a standpoint of the secretary, the hours okay? and-
Hours are great.
Okay.
Yeah, hours are great. Everything's really good with that position. So.
And we discussed the police details thing.
We did.
You and I did. I haven't discussed. it
Okay,
with The rest of the board.
And I put an explanation on that last page about them. It was. That's-
Got it. Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
it does. So just to highlight, so police details are an opportunity for our police department to support the surrounding towns. When construction work comes up, and it's a way for our officers when they're off duty to make some extra money. We've always had it up until about a year and a half ago when we did away with it. And the reason we did away with it is what we were charging for the service meant we were losing about $25 an hour against actual town expenses. So I asked Chief Duchesne to basically come up with a new rate that would be charged out. That would at least get us to break even so that we weren't eating expenses. So that's $70 an hour will cover what we need to do there. 15 to the office or 20 to the town. You get FICA or Medicare, do we have to pay payment on that?
FICA, I believe, is only, I don't want to confuse them. Yeah, FICA is only if a part-timer works a detail, but that won't happen.
Okay,
We won't, I won't allow the part-timers to work. a detail.
and is the retirement contribution required for
No,
this?
it's just the Medicare
Okay,
at the 1.45%.
questions on the police detail? Guys? All right,
So the money in the line is basically appropriated and then just put back.
and the police overtime is what? Joe?
That is for, because there's no doubt gonna be overtime expenses incurred from call outs with Tyler and Sean. K9 would be a big one. We still are a call department. We're not out 24 hours, so after 11 o'clock, I'll even say 1 AM when state police go in, because they're not out 24 hours either. We're on call after that, so I've got to have something in there to cover us should we get called out.
That was split out from the part-time offices.
Right, that was all
Budget,
one.
We always
Yep.
had it in the part-time
Yep.
offices program. just so
I
you
was
know,
doing that more for the camera,
Yeah.
to make sure people understood what was going on with that.
Just so you see the difference.
Software, Joe?
Okay, software, let's see. Yeah, there's an increase in the software because we have to add a second user to our IMC program, which is our in-house database to do generates all our offenses, police reports, all that stuff. So there's an expense to add a second user, because right now only one person can use it at a time, which is problematic. And that also includes any updated fees and maintenance, yearly fees and maintenance.
It included the third cruiser, which had never been set up on the
So-
laptop. So you did that this year?
That was
part
added this year. The only added expense for the mobile data terminal in the cruiser for that third one is just a slight increase for the Verizon Air Card monthly, which I have the phone bill a little bit to cover that.
And just for folks, part of the reason we went with the specialized software is because of what the county uses. And by us being on that system, all of the data is backed up by the county. So it saves the town expense and having to provide data storage for all of the information we have as part of the department. So yes, it's a cost here, but there's an additional benefit that we're getting out of that because of that data storage capability.
The other big benefit to it, Chuck, as well, is we're integrated with the sheriff's department, which is integrated now with this new system with pretty much every PD in the state, actually all the way down to Boston. So if we were to put somebody's name in from up around here, it's gonna let us know any contacts they had down in Massachusetts. So the interoperability of it is key with that as well.
Right, and one of the reasons we looked at adding this last year was our police officers, when they did some kind of a stop, motor vehicle stop, to call in to get information, typically had to wait anywhere from 10 minutes to a half an hour or more. And in many cases, because they couldn't get the information, they just let the person go. We now are able to put that information in ourselves and get immediate information about that individual driver's license.
It more or less makes the officer a self-dispatcher, self-sufficient, other than calls coming in independently to dispatch that he has to be dispatched to. He can do everything he needs to do right from the computer in the cruiser, sign himself out on calls, respond to calls.
So what's your thought on the 3% raise for next year?
Well, that's what I wanted to just talk to you a little bit more. I just had a little bit of confusion on the 3% of, you were saying the overall.
It's basically your number.
Yeah.
The sergeant's number and the secretary.
So it's 3% of those.
Yeah.
Okay. I know off the bat, I'm gonna keep my salary the way it is. I don't want to take a raise for next year. I'd rather see it go to Sergeant. He's been doing an unbelievable amount of work, and to the secretary, because she's turned that office around this year. So,
So 3% of your bottom line salary for that is your target number, and then you get to decide how you want to
okay,
put that out.
then that would be it for me to figure out.
So if you can give us figures for the other two after done your calculation,
Yes,
would appreciate it.
I certainly will do that.
Okay. Mr. Budget Chair, anything that you can think of?
Or do you want to do that right now so we can?
Sure.
read it?
You got a
You're
calculator?
talking
handy, Dave?
6% of Joe's for the part-time, I mean, for the sergeant, is that what you're talking about?
Just so I can hear you a little bit
Can't
better.
hear you, Dave.
Well, he's calculating. That's what he wants.
So the sergeant's salary would go to 66,317.84, 66,318. That's giving him Joe's you said 3%, Chuck? And
Yep.
The 3% for him?
Yep.
And then for the secretary, you'd be talking the same amounts, 3%?
Correct.
That's not what I heard. I heard
Yeah,
that
total,
you're
all
gonna,
of it.
right, you're gonna take
Well,
3%
didn't you do
out of
Add
it,
them together, the 3%.
and then he'll divide them between the two people.
That's what I was
So
understanding. 3%.
if you want, I could step out and do that with him while you go over the other budget.
Perfect.
Yeah, you
I'm
wanna
gonna do that.
Oh,
Does
that's
that make
fine.
sense, Dave?
Well, I thought you were giving yours to the sergeant.
Oh, well, yeah, well,
That's what you said.
so I think what they're saying is add the 3% of that, and then take that number.
Yep, and divide it
That's
So
it.
where
to
I-
whichever you want to go.
That makes sense.
Do you wanna, do the
And I just
dog
add
How
off?
do you add up the three of them? Because you're giving 3% to the sergeant, or you're giving him 6% of his current salary.
No,
So,
you're,
so
you're giving 3% to Joe, 3% to the sergeant, 3% to the secretary. So add those three current salaries times 3%, that's the salary percentage.
Yep.
If he turns around out of that and says, I want to give equivalent to roughly 6% of that to somebody, he can do that, and 3% or 2% to the other person, he could do that too. But it'll come down to more number rather than percentage 6, 5, 4.
Well, the only difference is you would be giving more than 3 to the secretary is what you're talking about. That's all.
Possibility,
Yeah, that's the only difference.
possibility,
That's
yes.
the only difference.
But that's why,
I didn't figure that, because
Yeah.
I just took it as you were giving that to the
but
sergeant.
I think if you and Audrey could step out and do that calculation,
Yeah, that's
that way we can come up with a number. that-
do you wanna do the dog person next, before we do that?
Yeah,
And so that one's kind of a little bit of a headache right now. Because at the rate that we were at, which was $2,400, which worked out to $40-something a week, or something like that. I can't find anybody that wants to be on call 24/7 to go wrangle loose dogs for $2,400 a year. Most towns are up 6,000 plus. Ospey was at 12 at one point. Granted, they're much bigger. A lot more call volume.
and the original number at 24, because I was sitting in the chair,
Yeah,
and it's like chair when that happened, not as a chairman, but in the
Yeah.
select board.
Yeah.
Was an original number that Ian had come up with as a rough calculation.
Okay.
Pending future documentation.
Gotcha.
We had no documentation of what the calls were.
gotcha.
That never got adjusted in subsequent years. So that's what's put us in the position we're in right now without a dog officer.
Gotcha. Well, I put down $5,200, figuring maybe I can get somebody that would be willing to do it for $100 a week. I think I could probably do that. And I added in the 500 for the equipment, because I don't think we have any equipment.
We don't. We got nothing. We required, we basically had
I need-
Joanne bring her own.
Right, need like a catch pole,
Yep.
probably a crate or something, I'm not sure, so.
So why is this one important? If we end up having to do this ourselves and we have to go get any kind of dog for whatever reason, we get to throw them in the back of the cruisers and determine who's gonna clean it up after you get to where you go. In my younger years, I was a police
Hopefully
officer.
Sean's available, we can just throw him a job.
Yeah, in my younger days, I was a police officer and we actually had to do that ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We only did it for about a year because the cruisers cost so much to clean after an event and they were unusable until they were cleaned.
Right.
So I can tell you the cleaning bill alone far exceed this number in cleaning the cruiser.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
So I think with that, I could make something happen with it. To keep it going. Other than that, you get rid of it, we'll be saddled with the dog calls, which is doable. But, you know, it won't be a priority.
Do we get a lot of dog calls?
We don't get a ton. I bet. I don't know, I would say average maybe one a week.
Yeah, that's really,
You know.
okay.
But the other side of that is.
Well,
you know,
I agree.
Somebody
You
has to
gotta
be willing to
dedicate
get up
it.
at 3 o'clock in the morning to go chase this. loose
yeah,
dog,
because it's
you know
a
what I mean?
24/7 position.
Right, you're on call all the time. And
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can say, no, sorry, I'm not available this time, but you know, you still have to life, like, you know, but. Yeah, for the most part, it's. Wow, that's why I couldn't find a way to do it for $24 a year.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
No thanks, I won't even cover the gas, so.
Yeah, no, I agree, we definitely need somebody who have that, you know, once a week kind of thing, we definitely needs to.
So we don't have anybody's plan right now, that's just an estimation of what you would take, that you would need
Yeah.
to cover that position.
Yeah, and I think that'd be fair minimum.
Because I know the Humane Society over there by the Ossipee Post Office, that last year we had, it was 13 to 18 dogs that they took into the town,
Oh, yeah.
and they're doing us a pretty good service of $1.
Our $1,000 annual donation over there is well worth it for the
Well,
town.
oh, it's not even covering half, and that's all they want right now.
Do these dogs obviously belong to
Oh,
somebody,
yeah,
right?
yeah, they get
So-
loose, they get out.
I know, but are they charged? Because don't we,
So-
do we have a,
Well, they can be charged through the court system.
really?
Yeah, like we charge them.
Two ways to charge.
Loose dog or a dog with menace or vicious or something like that, and we take it to the court. And they'll have to pay fines, but nothing back to the town.
And if the dog is over at, let's say, the hotel for 4 days, where they've got a, over in Ossipee, if they want the dog, they gotta pay the 4 days worth of care.
Right, that's the other thing.
So it's not a freebie charge.
So then
They gotta
if
pay the
that-
fees. to get the dog.
Okay, so then that money goes where?
When they pay
When
the
you check,
fees,
yeah,
when they pay the fees, that goes to the Humane Society. Because the Humane Society charges.
so the town doesn't get anything back for going and getting the
Nope.
dog and
Nope.
it-
It'd be the
Why?
same as if we make an arrest on the
Can't-
side of the road.
It's part of the service we provide.
wow, so there's no holding a person responsible
Oh, well,
for their,
there is through the court system.
well, I know,
Right,
but
but
without
not-
the court.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like if we do all the work and we get nothing,
No, I hear
what,
ya.
what's the,
No, I hear you.
you know,
That's true with traffic.
because
tickets,
you're
though,
not
right?
Yeah. traffic
being
tickets are the same
responsible for
way.
your animal.
Right.
It's not always
Wow.
lack of responsibility. I have a dog who managed to get out from under a 6-foot privacy fence after going after a deer. She made a hole in the fence that wasn't there,
Okay.
lost her collar in the process,
Mm,
and ended up getting hit by a car. Believe me, we were not being irresponsible owners of our
It
dog.
happens. stuff
It
happens.
happens, stuff happens sometimes. It's kind of like blaming parents for the 3-year-old that wanders off on them when they turn their head for literally 1 second. It happens. You know,
Additional questions?
Something for
Comments?
people, like people
Oh,
that are
yeah.
constant.
Yes,
Because I'm
but
sure that
again,
there are
it's,
dogs that are constant.
again, it's through the
And
court system.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it would start with if it's a situation like you just described, we'd probably start with a warning, if we've never had any issues with you in the past, happens again, you're gonna get a fine. If it happens again, you're gonna get a fine and probably not get your dog back this time. You know what I mean? So it does, it escalates through the court system. But as far as anything coming back to the town of Effingham, to my knowledge, no. There isn't.
I've never seen it.
No.
Even the court fines don't come to us, they go to the county. All right, I'll make a motion to approve line item 4414 dog officer in the requested amount of $6,700 for the 2022 budget. We'll hear a second.
Second.
All those in favor, for aye?
All right,
Chuck, can I ask something on the police budget right now?
Sure.
I wanted to add the sergeant, the chief, and the secretary together, do 3%, right? And then you wanted to split that in half,
Take the existing salary.
and you wanted to split that amount, total amount.
He can split it any way he wants. He could give $100 to the secretary and give everything else to Sean.
Okay,
But that's his call, not ours.
yeah, so that's a $3,580.
But he's gonna basically give us that. Now, they're gonna work that number right now.
Work that number.
You're gonna know that number.
Yeah, I mean, we're not giving half of that to the secretary, because that's
No.
obviously a lot more than
No, no, no,
3%.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Alright, just so
no, it'll
we
be
know.
relative to the positions, no doubt.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, so it's
absolutely.
obviously more Sean and,
Obviously, yeah, no doubt.
all right, yeah, I just wanted to make that point before
Absolutely, yeah, no, I get it.
you beat it in the background.
Why the secretary gave you the raise, Sean?
Yeah, I don't think Sean would be happy.
I
about
don't
that.
think so. I don't think you would.
All right, so we'll come back to that one in a minute. And
Thank you.
all right. For the police, for the moment. Okay, animal control, planning board. Teresa,
Can I get a second?
you can always put in for it, but
Just kidding.
You approved the planning board, you going back,
The
revisiting.
planning
that?
board was approved
we did it through it.
and
We talked about,
the zoning board was not approved pending your decision or contemplation of a legal line item, as I recall. In other words, all legal costs for the planning and for land use comes out of the legal line.
we want to move it back into the individual budget sheets.
You all decided that?
We talked about it
So I did.
a
I
week or
did
so
some
ago.
Homework.
Go ahead.
I did some homework. So up until September of this year, looks like the zoning officer spent about $5,200 on legal,
Yeah,
planning about 1,100, and zoning about 3,300. And that was just, and then the other one was, health officer, which was about 20 grand.
okay.
So I don't know that you're talking a ton of money.
Well, yeah, and I think the whole point was just to know that if there is a case, the line we have for professional is for someone, an engineer, to give the planning board an opinion about a wetlands driveway crossing wetlands, say, or something. It's not for us to hire a lawyer to advise on a case or to take that case to court or to respond to a case that's been taken to court. That's all the legal line item. So I'm not suggesting that the budget be changed. You guys had a question about it,
Yeah,
and so we didn't.
I don't like the combining of all the legal stuff into one legal line, because it doesn't allow people to understand what activities are generating the legal bill.
Can the legal line have a breakdown under it? So that the thing is that the zoning board for probably years had no legal cost. It's only when a more complex case arose that in that particular year, there was, so in other words, you might say, oh, well, if they had 3,000 in costs, we should budget 3,000. We might never use that for eight more years.
Totally agree,
Um,
but I think we should put a number in there that might be a reasonable number. Can you go back in with the QuickBooks and determine what the costs were for the last 3 or 4 years for planning and zoning? Is that stuff in there? Or because
No,
we-
we'd have to go through the bills themselves. It's not broken out that way in QuickBooks. Because we never had to do that in QuickBooks. QuickBooks, we only paid out of the one line item. Now in QuickBooks,
And we did.
it will be broken out because it will be in their budget, if you do that.
Well, even, what, I guess what I'm saying is that even if you didn't do it, even if you kept it legal, you could break it down under legal.
I don't think you can according to the numbers from the state that we use.
I-
It's one legal line.
I think you're going up a tree that you don't wanna go up.
Yeah,
I'm
I
telling
agree.
you right now that the amount of legal that those have is minuscule. And
Compared to what you-
fluctuates so
Yeah.
much. 5 years, you may not have anything.
Exactly.
And then she has that one case that she got approval from the board to go with the
Yeah.
lawyer.
Yeah.
It's broken out. You can get that information from the legal detail sheet if you need to, if someone asks. We don't need to be putting additional line items with additional fictitious numbers on it, because that's all it'll be. I mean, you have the pie, which is the legal system, budget, and you can pretty much see what you spend each year on that budget. It fluctuates, of course. But trying to do it to individual budget sheets, I just think it's a wrong tree to head up.
I mean, we didn't require legal line for the health officer. And,
That would be. you're
But you
right.
would have to
That's-
add that.
That's a good point.
yeah,
Like you
So,
would have to
I-
zoning and stuff.
I agree with Dave. I see no reason to add it. I mean, Darlene said she could sort it out. Like she has, so.
I think there's value to reporting out in budget season what the cost has gone toward, enforcement of blah, blah versus, advising. One of those was just advising us on the proper steps to take so that we don't get sued. Another one is having to deal with,
I
enforcement.
mean, since I started too, I've been separating the legal paperwork that comes in, and I've sent you your backup to show you what you spent on legal this month. Same thing with Rebecca. I've sent it to her to let them know what they're spending
Okay.
when the bills come in.
And I
So
reviewed,
it's
the-
not
I
that-
reviewed the legal packet, and when you bring up the budget sheet for legal, I have details of how much we spent on each one. We've done that, and I've sent that out to the budget committee already, that I've reviewed the legal sheet and what the major factors were on the driving costs of legal. So it's broken up at that point too. I mean, if you want to go more detail, that's your
Well, I
prerogative.
mean, I just think that reporting out for the public, you can do in this context, right? Your
Agreed.
public meeting.
So you're correct, you're breaking it down inside QuickBooks, even though we're not gonna report it on here.
I'm not breaking it down in QuickBooks because it only goes to one place. If I was charging, I can only charge it to 4153, whatever that number is, because that's the only line we have in QuickBooks.
Yeah, and I guess
I mean, if I could do a spreadsheet, I suppose, on the side,
that's what I was.
every
thinking.
time I would get the bill, I could do a spreadsheet.
No,
Well, no, can you add
I don't wanna
some,
do manual work.
some categories in QuickBooks that still go to that line if you're.
When you do a subcategory under legal, that'll add up to the total line in legal. Should be.
In QuickBooks, probably.
So maybe you could just do it.
We're actually
internal.
doing that with the heating and electricity right now.
Yeah.
It's a master total, and we break it down underneath it for the individual items.
Yeah,
If we can do that in QuickBooks,
okay.
I'm totally good.
That's what I guess
So
I
I
was
start that
thinking.
next year, like January 1st.
Yeah, and I think that's what I had in my head as a way to get the information to you or to the budget process and to the public, if you want to report that out, but that it doesn't change your budget process.
What does that look like on your budget sheets? I just can't put it in my head now.
It's
So the
just legal,
40
one of
No, the full, like the electric and the gas that I split out
oh, it's split
in
out.
QuickBooks.
It's,
It's split out to those 5 buildings
yes.
in QuickBooks. How does that affect your budget sheet? I can't
The
remember what the
budget
budget
sheet
sheet
just
looks
shows,
like.
the budget sheet just shows
Just
electricity
shows
for the
the
municipal
total. Okay,
So,
total.
yeah, so I can do that. Thank you.
It's following the same thought. process.
Yeah.
Right.
my sense is it gives you all the information that you have a goal for receiving and reporting, but it doesn't interrupt the usual budgetary line items. In which case, I think then the budget, which I neglected to bring with me, I think then the budget that was before you,
Planning board was 5961. We actually did approve that.
You did approve
And then
that,
we
right.
Sat back and said we wanted more info. Well, we got the more info right in this meeting. So are you comfortable with the original vote at 5961 on line item 4191 planning board? Okay, so that one we actually did already. Correct. The one we haven't done is zoning board, 4191 zoning board in the amount of $4,162. Any more discussion needed on that one?
No.
Make a motion to pass line item 4191 zoning board for the 2022 budget in the amount of $4,162. Give it a second.
Second.
All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. Teresa,
thank you, gentlemen.
I appreciate the extended visit that you had to come back for this discussion.
Absolutely.
I know you're busy, but I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Darlene. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I will let you know.
There are a couple of emails here. please.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Town forester. Further down the packet, town forester, 4619, budget of $1,000.
You have approved that one already.
We did approve it already. Good. Thank you, David.
I bet the sheet.
I didn't have that one.
I bet
As
the sheet.
approved. I didn't get a copy.
Okay. Remind me.
All right, Parks and Recreation. We have two ways we can tackle this one. We can review the information that I gave you today and sent out yesterday, which gives you the background to where the town of Boston is coming from. I did meet with Matt Sawyer, the town administrator, and he did indicate to me that their minimum number they would accept would be a $30,000 item for this year for support. Dave Strauss actually asked for a bunch of additional information, which is in what you have there. So 51 kids year to date, 180 something in participant items year to date. Plus the budgets for the recommended for Ospey next year, is under the neighborhood of 170 for the rec department. But the other bigger item is actually the town highway department, which actually maintains all of the fields and the basketball courts and everything else, and they just embed that into the highway budget. So Effingham is using this year about 30% of the usage of the rec department. In past years, it's run between 20 and 25%. Even if I took a number that would, I think would be lower at $250,000 for the two, highway and rec budget, and then do 30% of that, that's significantly more than 30 grand. So we have a decision point to basically say, we like it, we don't like it, we're no longer going to do it. It's gonna go to the town meeting anyway, but for the town warrant article to raise it. So
Let me give you a little more detail.
Please.
It's 57 kids is what he got back to me. His rec department budget is about 60,000. The town administrator said, yes, the highway supports it, but he didn't have the breakout of how much they money-wise supported out of their $2 million budget.
it was 160,000 for the rec department.
He gave me 60.
The Excel sheet we had showed
He
160.
came back and said, the town administrator said, was.
After he sent that report out to us? Oh, okay. All right, I missed that one.
I mean, 20% of that budget would be 30,000. Well,
But you also got the
12,000.
maintenance, you also got the maintenance
12,000.
number. We gotta come up with
Yeah.
an assumption of the maintenance.
So, no, you're right, Chuck. I think I might have had that number messed up with his number, because he gave me like 5 different numbers. I didn't know I was gonna give that to you today. It worked out to, we were paying per child around $200 per child. That's what we were paying. This will put us up a little over 600 per child.
That's the recommendation. That's where they're going with their recommendation next year.
Yeah.
170 million rec budget, 1.4 million.
1.4 million. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 1.7, I'm sorry, you're right.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
another one he was giving me that
So even if we get a quarter million.
20% of his 170 budget was 34,000. Correct?
Yep, and then,
So
then you
you
had
saying
maintenance on top of that.
that's how they came up with the 20% of the rec budget. 20% of the rec budget for the 30,000. He wasn't including the highway on that, like you said, and the town administrator did. So all these programs, they still have to pay for a bunch of the programs to use, even with the town paying this amount.
The parents have to correct.
And it's,
Yes.
they have to pay based on the federal student lunch program
Yeah.
eligibility.
So we've got 57 children, 51 to 57. I get that number. Chuck said 51, I had 57. We're in that ballpark of children that use it. We were as a town putting out about $200 per child to go to this rec program. This is gonna put it a little over $600 per child based on the amounts. It's a large amount for the town per child, considering everything else that we put in, and they still have to pay for this program. So,
And the flip side, if we don't do it, our
yeah,
people can't participate in that rec program. And we have nothing in our town.
So we're kind of
And
held
we-
hostage almost.
This is
Well,
huge.
I look at it as being a very cost-effective way to have a rec department without having to have salaries, maintenance, and a whole bunch of other
It's a lot
stuff.
of money, yeah. It's a lot of money.
And the town afford it. I guess that's-
So the key thing is, from a townspeople standpoint, do we tell the townspeople we're no longer gonna have a rec opportunity for any of the kids in town?
Ooh, yeah.
That won't go.
Too old, Dave.
well, that's not necessarily true. You don't have a rec. I mean, we fund the library, which has a lot of programs. We fund a lot of these nonprofits, which have totally geared towards Children Unlimited and all kinds of other programs that support our children.
I don't disagree with that.
And our school, which is almost 60% of our budget, has a lot of rec programs for our children. So you know that we do fund it. You can disagree with it, but it's a fact. We do fund those. And that does provide a lot of actual activities for the children. I mean, to give a homeowner $600 per child because you want to send them to a day camp, I think is a lot asking for the taxpayers. I myself, and that's where my thought will be towards the budget committee, so you have that thought. And then obviously your budget is your budget. I just want you to have what I have.
What programs are there over in the rec center? I have no idea, so.
There was 100
Volleyball, softball,
basketball,
soccer.
Field,
different levels of pee-wee, baseball, softball, middle, upper.
age dependent.
There's
They also do the skiing at King Pine.
And that's one that they charge more because you have to pay the tickets and stuff. But there's quite a few of the programs that I'll be giving to the budget committee, the full brochure that was sent to me.
And this, the school doesn't have any kind of thing like that at all. I mean, my children are grown,
This is
so.
all summer
you know,
activity related stuff for the most part.
Okay,
The biggest usage is after school time.
right.
And
So,
the numbers have been increasing every year.
So would the citizens or the other townspeople be able to utilize that if they paid their own way into us?
No, I've been told. If
They
we're- if
can't
we're not
go
part
in
of
there
it,
at
they
all.
can't get it.
So,
Only off because
What if we're not 30,000 out of it?
the minimum number they're looking at is 30 grand. If we're not 30 grand to start with, we're not.
Did
in it.
we ask the Parks and Rec if an individual could enroll in children? I never saw anybody saying we could do that.
During the discussion I had, that was my interpretation of what was said. That can only validate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably good information to have.
Yeah.
I'll send an email.
Then okay, if you would.
I'll take care of it. Chuck. I'll
Okay.
send an email.
So let's-
to them asking them, because that's a good question. I don't know if you actually can still have a child in if enroll.
So my question
Yeah.
is, if there's
What's up? Did
57
they find
kids going,
Whether.
do they go every time there's something going on? And we have to pay. So we could be paying for some kids that don't even go. Or say, I don't wanna go today, I wanna do
Yeah.
this, or I'll twice.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Or
not,
go twice.
it's not every day,
Well, I mean, every time.
every time, you know.
Every time they have a function, we
But the bulk of the use of this,
have kids go
I think.
that wanna go. If they don't wanna go, we're paying for them to go, even though they don't go. Hello, okay.
All right, so we'll hold on to this one, if you guys are agreeable, until we get an answer, further answer from the rec department. The other alternative we have too is if you want to basically, when we can, the three of us attend the budget committee discussion the night they're gonna talk about this particular item, and we could deal with it at that point. And we make our selection, the budget committee make their selection based on the feedback.
I mean, my
I'm good
thought
with
logic,
that.
Chuck, is driven, as you know, your large increase in the town budget this year. We're way behind in tax, this town is funding over $2 per thousand of your taxes to cover people who not paying their taxes. And that's probably gonna go up with this December bill. And it scares me that we're going that way. So
Thank you.
So do we want to have the further discussion of the night budget committee when they're talking about it? Do you want to bring it back? The next meeting?
When's budget committee?
When?
26.
26.
Well, we won't be specifically talking directly about it.
You know, which night?
I have the schedule right here.
All departments and committees are the first ones to go. And then we have the conservation, the new one, and the forest added. Those are the only two select ones that we add.
I'm good at the joint meeting.
Yeah, no,
Okay, then Dave, when you get your answer, you can just share it, and we will hold on to this one, and we'll make our
Do
decision.
it jointly. Like we're doing the nonprofits.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll have all the information detailed out. We'll get a flavor for it.
And it'll be a bigger discussion with the budget committee, so more thoughts will come out on that. Okay.
Parks and Rec, you were doing on November 23rd. That's all right?
Yes.
Budget committee.
So that's one, we'll do that as a joint at that meeting.
That's in the schedule.
We're doing it
Yeah.
10/26 or 11/23.
11/23.
11/23 for the Parks and
Is
Rec.
that
Parks and
particular
Rec, the budget
11 what?
committee.
11/23.
We can move select board stuff around too for you guys. I mean, if you really want to move stuff around. Just this first one, we got a majority of people coming in, so I try not to move that around. Because of all departments and committees. If we can not upset that, that would be great.
Okay, next one, solid waste collection, 4324. Honey, you worked on this one, right?
We started it.
Yeah, we did finish this one, Lenny. It was the other one I had gone over and split things out.
Oh, okay.
So we did finish this one.
You have a sheet for that one?
Oh, I have a whole pile for you. Sorry. I didn't think you were gonna be here today.
I didn't either.
So I didn't think to.
So 4323, you're comfortable because of the
23 or 24.
23 right now. Solid waste collection.
Trying to find my notes. Yeah, I'm good with it.
Tom, any questions?
Trying to find the sheet that went over.
Yep.
We did 23,
There you go.
43, 23.
That's what you-
More things to look at.
Take a smoke.
All right. Take a 5-minute recess. Need to move. We'll be right back.
Did you put it on fast?